In this part I will be start animating the character. So first I'm going to have a look at my example video. It's a part of an episode and Mr. Mackey is talking to a student. So I'm just going to scrub through. So there's a silence at the beginning, then he leans forward, starts talking, raises his left arm, puts it down, raises his other arm, puts it down. For the rest he moves a little bit back and forward. So I'm going to take a look around which line. So before he starts talking he moves forward, and then I'm going to have a listen.
What you need to understand.
What you need to understand, he raises one arm.
Is that a school assembly is not.
That a school assembly is not, is when he raises the other arm. So I'm going to not recreate it frame by frame, just trying to mimic the scene. So if I back up to the main timeline, I'm going to start by bringing the sound. So I'm going to do a file import to library. This is the MP3 sound which I'm going to use. Open. So now it's in my library. I select the empty keyframe and I go to the properties. From the pull down menu underneath sound I select my MP3 file, and from the sync settings I need to select stream. So this is so I would hear a audio scrubbing. So now you can see a little blue line indicating that there is a sound on that layer. I'm going to search for the end of the sound by inserting extra frames. Now you saw me using a little trick. I click and drag to select a frame on each layer, and then I press F5, which will add frames just up to the frames I selected. So now I went to frame 500 and you can see that the animation, the sound is stopped. So I'm going to remove the unnecessary frames. I thought I could do that from the menu. So normally this would be a Shift F5. Okay. A little test. If I press enter, I should be able to hear a sound.
Now, Token, what you need to understand.
So
You need to understand.
he starts talking
Now,
here.
Token.
So from frame 50 to, let's say, 75, I'm going to let him bend forward. So the trick of making the animation is to have the same length of timeline in all your graphic symbols. So my main timeline is 295 frames. So if I now double click Mr. Mackey, the main symbol, I'm going to scroll until 295, select this frame, F5, insert frames. I'm also going to add the sound, because I can only hear the sound playing of the graphic symbol I'm editing. So put it on stream to be able to do a scrub. I'm going over to the head and repeat the same process. 295, whoops, F5, add a new layer for the sounds, just checking what this is, the head base. So this is going to be the sound, selecting the keyframe, selecting the sound, putting it on stream. Okay, we're all set. So we will be animating the body. So I'm inside the Mr. Mackey symbol. I'm going to go up to 50, so everything but the legs will be moving. So I'm going to add a keyframe here for these different layers. Okay, and I'm going to make him bend until here. New keyframe. So I will need motion twins or classic twins, so I can select them, do a right click, and I'm going to use a classic tween. Okay, so now I want the torso, I want everything. Putting the pivot point in the same spot. Okay, so this is moving forwards, and what I just noticed is that I'm moving the wrong keyframe, and I first need to position the arms in their default position. So I'm going to do a undo. Okay, so my default position of the arms is down like this. Okay, okay, this is where we left off. Of course, we need to rotate the second keyframe. So this is my end position. So I'm going to do it like this. And he's moving his arms forward. So I'm going to select both the arms. I'm going to do them separately. So I rotate them around the correct points. Okay, have a look at this. Leans forward, starts talking.
What you need to understand. The school is you need to understand.
So this part he raises the right arm. So I need to put a keyframe so the arm remains the same until this point. And then add another keyframe. I'm doing the right arm, it's not correct. I need the left arm. And this one. F6. And I'm going to include a classic tween so we can see the movements. Now in the real video, I'm gonna take a look at it. No, it doesn't bend that much, so I just can tilt it around like this. It's okay. Need to understand.
Understand, okay? Is that a school assembly?
Going to move it a little to here. So after he said his sentence, he's moving his arm back down. Classic tween. Okay.
Now, Token, what you need to understand, okay?
This needs to move a little, so you can just drag and drop keyframes.
Understand, okay? Is that a school?
And this is the part where the other arm gets raised. So a little trick what I can do is already place the last keyframe, so when the arm needs to go down again, so now I have copied this position, I can go here and I'm going to lock the other ones. I can move it up and then make another keyframe here. So you can see I've copied the position here. Okay, let's see it in real time.
School assembly is not the time and the place to be yelling and causing.
Okay, having a look at the original again, leaning forward, moving one arm, move the other, and while he talks he also moves the torso a little. So in between here I'm going to move the torso, and when the torso moves, of course, the head and arms move as well. So I'm going to put keyframes. Okay, selecting everything, changing the pivot point, going to move up a little. I'm going to move his arms back down. Okay, it's beginning to look like it. So have a quick look at the original. So you see when his arm is up, before he puts it down, he stretches it a little bit. So I'm going to try to create that just to explain how I have the nested graphics. So he raises his arm and I want him to flex it over here, so I'm at frame 193. If I double click on this arm, you see I haven't lengthened the timeline yet, so I'm going to go to 295, insert empty frames. So I was at 193, so if I now go to the same spot, 193, I can put keyframes F6. So I'm going to stretch it a little and he will return to the other position later on. So I'm already putting keyframes. So let's say he stretches it here, insert classic tween, and I'm going to stretch it like this, insert the keyframe, classic tween, and go back. So the upper arm doesn't need to change, or maybe it would be more realistic if it did. I'm just going to check if I could move everything together, like this. I have to repeat it here. I need to do that first. Go back a little. So if I want to animate them both, I need to first move the upper part like this, and now separately I can move this one like this, and if you see them combined, you see it push forward, stretch forward. Okay, F6, F6. So first the reverse order, putting this like that, selecting everything, oops, change the pivot point, lowering it a little and adding classic tweens. Okay, let's take a look at this. So if we now go back to the Mr. Mackey timeline and we scrub, we of course need to see that this is the correct frame. We're on 184. I'm going to make it play it once. First frame is 184. And you can see that I now can use the part where the arm stretches. So maybe this takes a little while to understand, but you really need to use the power of the graphic symbols with their own timelines. You need to decide if you put certain parts on separate layers or if you put them inside a new symbol. So this shows you how to animate the body. In a separate movie I'm going to finish with lip sync.